The year is 2018. The NBA draft is here, and the best prospects are in Brooklyn, New York, where they hope to get their names called by Commissioner Silver and fulfill their longtime dream of being a professional athlete. The top prospects are the freakish 7-footer DeAndre Ayton, the versatile 6'10 big man Marvin Bagley III, who many are comparing to Kevin Garnett, the offensive maestro Luka Doncic, the athletic big man Jaren Jackson Jr., and Trae Young, the dynamic scoring playmaking guard who many were calling a Curry-Nash hybrid coming out of college. This was shaping up to be one of the best drafts in recent memory, but this video is not about them. Later in this draft, with the 11th pick, the Charlotte Hornets selected Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from the University of Kentucky. Heading into the draft, the 6'6 guard was compared Ron Harper and Shaun Livingston, all valid comparisons. Big point guards that had the size and versatility to play and guard 2s and 3s. That was the kind of prospect Shai was coming out of Kentucky. I will admit that Shai wasn't on my radar at the time. After being disappointed with some draft picks earlier in the decade, I've opted to only really pay attention to the can't miss prospects. But I do remember watching Shai on the 2019 Clippers and coming away impressed by what I saw. I wasn't seeing a future MVP at that point, but I did see a future star, and I was a little shocked when the Clippers traded him to OKC for Paul George. Obviously, at that point, Paul George was the way better player and a proven MVP caliber player, and George was needed in order for the Clippers to acquire Kawhi, who many after that 2019 playoff run was being anointed as the next Jordan and Kobe. Little did we all know that the next Jordan and Kobe might have already been on the Clippers and simply needed a few more years to develop. 6 years later, OKC's decision to acquire SGA has looked like a fantastic decision, and the Thunder have entered a new era of relevancy, and Shai is leading the way. But first, who is Shai, and how did it get to this point where an overlooked prospect is now doing things we haven't really seen in a while? First, be sure to like and subscribe, and to also check out my social media accounts. If enough people follow, I might do something with them, or not. But regardless, I will try to make videos when I can about the NBA, the NFL, and any other league that interests me, even Major League Rugby, which is currently ongoing. Anyway, like and sub. Shai's roots as a basketball player likely began in Hamilton, Ontario, a city on Lake Ontario about an hour away from Toronto, where he was born. His father was a high school player in Toronto, his mother an Olympic athlete who competed in track and field for Antigua and Barbuda at the 1992 Olympics. In the 9th grade, Shai was cut from St. Thomas More's varsity squad. Sounds familiar? For their JV squad, SGA led St. Thomas More to a state championship, earning team MVP honors. But the following season, he transferred to Sir Allan McNabb, also in Hamilton, but in pursuit of better competition, Shai decided to transfer to a high school in the States, settling at Hamilton Heights Christian Academy in Chattanooga, Tennessee for his junior and senior year. With Shai, the Hawks went 58-10 and ranked in the top 3 for the state of Tennessee and in the top 60 nationally both years. Shai finished his high school career as a 4-star prospect and chose Kentucky, where he was coached by the legendary John Calipari. Kentucky, as usual in the Calipari era, was stacked with elite freshman prospects, and Shai initially started as a reserve but became the starting point guard about 1/3 of the way into the season. For the season, he averaged about 14 points, 4 boards, and 5 dimes on 49%. But as a starter, his scoring increased to 15.8 points per game while still retaining the same floor numbers and efficiency. That said, Kentucky with a very young roster went 26-11 and made it to the regional semifinals, a disappointing season for that era of Kentucky basketball. Looking at the film, I see a combo guard that wasn't freakishly athletic, but he clearly had great length and height for a guard. Back to his athleticism, it did not pop out, but one thing that did is his pace. For the Wildcats, Shai played his own pace, and that is the one trait that honestly every NBA scout should have looked at when assessing his pro potential, especially considering his great physical tools. Hindsight is 2020, but the tools were there, and it is easy to see why Calipari wanted him out of high school. Speaking of Calipari, he was finally able to coach a 6'6 combo guard with a 6'11 wingspan after being tricked into not drafting one in the 1996 NBA draft. For those that do not know, Calipari wanted to draft Kobe with the 8th pick when he was the general manager for the New Jersey Nets. But Lakers general manager Jerry West tricked him into not picking Kobe, telling Calipari that Kobe would play in Europe if he was selected. This is relevant to Shai's story as well, as both Kobe and Shai were sought after by John Calipari and Jerry West. More on that in a minute. We all know about the 1996 Hornets drafting Kobe with the 13th overall pick. The Charlotte Hornets had no real interest in keeping Kobe, instead trading him to the Lakers so that they could acquire Vlade Divac to fill the hole at center since Alonzo Mourning left a few seasons earlier. Fast forward to 2018, and with the 11th pick of the draft, the Charlotte Hornets selected Shai, and right after, traded him to the Los Angeles Clippers. A key person involved in this decision was none other than Clippers team advisor Jerry West, who raved about SGA. Also, the owner of the Hornets at the time was Michael Jordan, so the connections to Mike and Kobe just keep on coming. Anyway, Shai started his NBA career with the Clippers. The Clippers entered the 2019 season coming off a 42-40 season where they were without franchise star Chris Paul for the first time since Basketball Reasons sent him to the Clippers in 2011. They were not expected to do much in 2019, especially with Blake Griffin gone to the Pistons, but they started the season 15-6, and I'm pretty sure they were the top seed or close to it at that point in the season. Mind you, the KD Warriors were around. The Clippers finished that season 48-34 in the 8th seed and had to face the KD Warriors in the first round. No one expected that series to be competitive, but then the Clippers overcame a 31-point deficit in Game 2 to tie the series 1-1. Then they won Game 5, which made this a way more competitive series than expected, before losing in Game 6, where KD reminded us all of who he was. Shai was a big contributor to his team, a team that did not have a bona fide star, but had a lot of solid players that knew their roles. Like the usual rookie, he started slow, but by the end of the season, he was averaging about 14 points and 4 assists on 53%. In the playoffs, Shai was inconsistent, as to be expected for a rookie, but he showed flashes of greatness with a 25-point and 22-point performance, both losses. He also guarded Clay throughout the series, not an easy task at all, especially for a rookie. Shai demonstrated that he belonged, and the Clippers had themselves a building block going forward. But then Kawhi wanted out of Toronto and wanted to go back home to Los Angeles. He wanted to bring Paul George over as well, and the Clippers were willing to do just about anything to acquire the Finals MVP and third in MVP voting that season, including trading away that building block. The trade looks lopsided now, especially with how disappointing both Kawhi and Podcast P were, and how many draft picks the Thunder have acquired, but at the time, many thought it was the right decision for both teams to make. Shai was now on a rebuilding team where he had a little bit more freedom to operate, and his first year, he also had the tutelage of Chris Paul, who never intended to stay long term. This was a great situation for the 20-year-old to enter in, a team with little pressure, and with a legendary point guard to develop him. The Thunder went 44-28 that season and finished 5th in the West, losing in 7 to the Rockets in the first round. Shai led the Thunder in points, but Chris Paul was the driving force behind their success. Afterwards, Christopher bolted for the Suns, and Shai was now given the green light. It was not easy in the beginning. The following season, the Thunder were playing .500 basketball with Shai, who was playing at all-star level. But then Shai suffered an injury early on that ended the Thunder season as they stopped becoming an NBA team afterwards. I mean, that last month or so, the Thunder were straight up sending a G League roster. This was more or less how the 2022 season went as well. Shai was dealing with injuries again, and was playing at an all-star caliber level, but the Thunder were young, inexperienced, and were more focused on taking advantage of their draft capital than being competitive. 2023 was when Shai was finally starting to be seen as one of the league's best, averaging 31 points, 5 boards, and 6 assists on 51% for a team that went 40-42. Not enough to make the playoffs, but enough to at least be seen as a team on the rise, with a young roster and a clear superstar in the making. Now the Thunder were positioning themselves to be a contender, but most were not expecting them to finish with the best record in the West the following year. Last season, Shai was incredible, 36-6 on 54% shooting, as well as 2 steals a game. He finished second in MVP voting to Jokic, and the Thunder made it to the second round, losing to the Mavericks in 6. This was definitely not Shai, who was the only Thunder player that showed up. The rest of the team's inexperience was on full display against an experienced Mavs team, but things looked extremely bright for one of the youngest teams in the league. This season, the Thunder have continued to exceed expectations. Shai has continued his high level of play, averaging numbers that we have not seen since early 1990s Jordan. It is worth noting that the modern game is more perimeter friendly than that era, and especially compared to the late 90s and 2000s era that Jordan and Kobe also played in. So when looking at the numbers, that needs to be factored in. For starters, compare the spacing, compare where the open shots are. MJ and Kobe did not see wide open 10 or 15 foot middies. Keep in mind that travels and push-offs did not get called like they did back then. He is without question in a way better situation than either were. That being said, so are his peers, and yet he is still playing the best of his perimeter peers this year, and was arguably the best the past few years. Similarly, Jordan and Kobe were without question the best perimeter players of their generation. So if Shai can demonstrate that he is without question the best perimeter player of his era, like Jordan and Kobe demonstrated, he's in rarefied air. Ultimately, to get there, Shai needs to win a few championships. It's not enough to just be a dynamic two-way combo guard with great size and great length. It's also not enough to be a mid-range maestro with excellent footwork. Those are key similarities among the three, but currently, Shai is a zero-time champ. I think that will change this year. If he wins the title this year, which he is absolutely in good position to do so, he will have won a title as the man earlier than Jordan and Kobe did. Of course, Kobe did have a huge role in 3 titles before he turned 26. In his mid-late 20s, he was very much like Jordan's 80s and Shai's early Thunder years where he was dragging some very underwhelming rosters. But Shai winning this year gives him a leg up from where they were as the first option when it comes to winning it all. And if he does it a few more times, then we can start to entertain these debates. Right now, he's not remotely close. He needs to get past guys like Steph and Wade before entering that level with arguably the 2 best guards ever. When I watch Shai, I see a fluid combo guard capable of playing the wing position like Jordan and Kobe did. He's not as athletic as either, and it's one reason I am not too big on saying he will surpass either of them. I mean, imagine those two in today's open NBA. But he also has a shiftiness to him, and a pace that I'm not sure either had to this extent. His deceleration is akin to Harden and Luka. What he lacks in explosiveness, he makes up for in craftiness, and it has allowed him to dominate the modern NBA at a level similar to his predecessors, and I am hoping in a few years we can revisit this and ask if he is really the heir apparent. That being said, Shai is also his own player. I like these comparisons because I love watching entertaining, dynamic players like Jordan and Kobe, and I love seeing that continue on. So I'm always ecstatic to see a player that restores that feeling. Shai himself has been on record calling himself a huge fan of Kobe, and it's clear from watching him play that he has modeled his game after Kobe. That being said, he is his own unique player. Shai's game is built more off his shiftiness to compensate for his weaker physical tools to both. His style is a throwback to their time, with the modern twist of incorporating easy middies instead of long twos like in the past. And his branding is apparently his insane aura. I think all 3 had insane aura, but another common link among them is this massive chip on their shoulder. Not being the top pick of their draft, getting cut from varsity in high school, not being perceived as a winner early on, having their playmaking skills disrespected. MJ had the all-star freeze-out his rookie year. Kobe had the Del Harris issue early in his career, and Shai had the trade to the Thunder. These are the type of events that turn a competitive athlete into a psycho, and all 3 had or have this quiet and ruthless confidence to them, that no one can beat them one-on-one, that they will destroy anyone in front of them. Jordan and Kobe demonstrated over and over, and their peers now see them as the best. Shai is getting whispers, his peers respect him, but he needs to demonstrate more, and I believe he is well on his way. But what about you guys? Too early to say? I get it, I'm not saying he's on their level, but I definitely see similarities, and I do believe he is capable of leading the Thunder to a dynasty. His best years are probably still ahead, and as we have seen throughout his career, dating back to high school, he will continue to improve and continue to exceed expectations. Cyber out.